The December morning air was crisp and filled with the scent of pine needles as Princess Catherine stepped into the grand entrance hall of their Norfolk home, Anmer Hall. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting dancing shadows across the polished wooden floors. She paused for a moment, taking in the peaceful silence before the day's festivities would begin. Today marked the start of what she hoped would be their most meaningful Christmas celebration yet. Catherine had been planning this holiday gathering for weeks, wanting to create something truly special for their family. After the challenging year they had faced, with its public scrutiny and personal struggles, she felt more determined than ever to focus on what truly mattered: the love and bond they shared as a family. She wanted this Christmas to be about genuine connection, laughter, and making memories that would last a lifetime. Prince William emerged from his study, still wearing his casual weekend clothes, a navy sweater and comfortable jeans. His face lit up when he saw Catherine standing in the hallway, her auburn hair catching the morning light. Even after all these years together, moments like these still took his breath away. She had this remarkable ability to make even the grandest of their homes feel warm and inviting, like a true family sanctuary. "The children are still sleeping," William whispered as he approached her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Prince George was up late last night, convinced he heard reindeer on the roof." Catherine laughed softly, remembering how their eldest had crept into their bedroom at midnight, eyes wide with excitement and wonder. These were the moments she treasured most, when they could just be a normal family, dealing with the same joys and challenges as any other parents. Their youngest, Prince Louis, had been equally excited, though his enthusiasm had manifested in endless questions about Father Christmas and whether the fireplace would be safe for his arrival. Princess Charlotte, ever the practical middle child, had spent the evening organizing her brothers and making sure everyone knew exactly what the plan was for Christmas morning. Catherine smiled at the thought of her daughter's determined little face as she explained the importance of waiting for Mama and Papa before opening any presents. As they made their way to the kitchen, Catherine felt grateful for this private time together. Their public life often demanded so much of their attention and energy, but here in their home, they could simply focus on being parents and partners. William started the coffee while Catherine began preparing breakfast, falling into the comfortable rhythm they had developed over years of marriage. The kitchen was Catherine's favorite room in the house during the holidays. She had decorated it herself with simple greenery and white lights, creating a warm atmosphere that felt both elegant and homey. Fresh holly sat in vases on the counters, and the scent of cinnamon and vanilla candles filled the air. This was where some of their best family conversations happened, where plans were made and dreams were shared. "I was thinking we could take the children to choose a Christmas tree today," Catherine suggested as she cracked eggs into a bowl. "There's that farm just down the road that grows their own. The children have been talking about wanting to cut down their very own tree this year." William nodded enthusiastically. He loved these simple family traditions, the ones that connected them to their community and gave their children normal childhood experiences. As if summoned by the mention of Christmas trees, they heard the sound of small feet thundering down the stairs. Prince George appeared first, his dark hair sticking up at odd angles and his pajamas wrinkled from sleep. He was followed closely by Princess Charlotte, who had already managed to brush her hair and was wearing her favorite pink dressing gown. Prince Louis brought up the rear, dragging his beloved stuffed animal behind him. "Is it Christmas yet?" Louis asked hopefully, his young face full of anticipation. Catherine knelt down to his level, smoothing his tousled hair. "Not quite yet, my darling. But we have lots of wonderful things planned for today." She explained about their tree hunting expedition, and watched as all three children's faces lit up with excitement. Breakfast became a lively affair, with the children chattering about their hopes for the perfect Christmas tree. George insisted it had to be tall enough to touch the ceiling, while Charlotte wanted one with the most beautiful shape. Louis simply wanted to make sure it would be strong enough to hold all their ornaments without falling over. William and Catherine exchanged amused glances across the table, remembering their own childhood excitement about such simple pleasures. After breakfast, the family bundled up in warm coats, scarves, and boots. The December air was cold but invigorating, and Catherine felt her spirits lift as they all piled into their car for the short drive to the Christmas tree farm. This was exactly what she had hoped for: unscripted moments of pure family joy, away from cameras and protocol. The tree farm was bustling with other families, all on the same mission to find the perfect Christmas centerpiece. Catherine watched as her children ran between the rows of evergreens, pointing excitedly at different options. The farm owner, a kindly elderly man who had been growing trees for decades, recognized them but treated them with the same warm friendliness he showed all his customers. "Now then, young ones," he said to the children, "the secret to finding the perfect tree is to listen to what it's trying to tell you. Each tree has its own personality, you see." The children were captivated by this idea, and began examining the trees more carefully, as if they might actually whisper their secrets. Prince George was drawn to the tallest trees in the lot, stretching up on his tiptoes to touch their lower branches. "This one's perfect, Papa," he announced, pointing to a massive Norwegian spruce that would have dwarfed their living room. William gently explained that while it was indeed a beautiful tree, they needed to find one that would fit comfortably in their home. Princess Charlotte approached the selection process with characteristic thoroughness, walking slowly around each potential tree to examine it from every angle. She had very specific criteria: the tree had to be symmetrical, full, and just the right shade of green, whatever that meant to her 7-year-old sensibilities. Catherine admired her daughter's attention to detail, seeing glimpses of her own perfectionist tendencies in the little girl. Prince Louis had a different strategy altogether. He seemed to be choosing trees based on which ones he felt sorry for: the slightly crooked one that leaned to one side, the smaller one that sat between two magnificent specimens. "This one looks lonely, Mama," he said, patting a modest fir tree that had clearly seen better days. Catherine's heart melted at his compassion, even for an inanimate object. After much deliberation and gentle negotiation, they settled on a beautiful Fraser fir that met everyone's requirements. It was tall enough to impress George, symmetrical enough to satisfy Charlotte, and full enough to hold all the ornaments that Louis was worried about. The farm owner helped William cut it down, and the children cheered as it fell with a soft whoosh into the snow. Loading the tree into their car became an adventure in itself, with much laughter and teamwork required to secure it properly. Catherine found herself thinking about how these were the moments that would stay with their children forever, not the grand state occasions or formal events, but these simple family experiences filled with love and laughter. On the drive home, the car filled with the fresh scent of pine, the children began planning how they would decorate their tree. Each of them had favorite ornaments they had made over the years, and they discussed where each one should be placed for maximum effect. Catherine listened to their animated conversation and felt a deep sense of contentment. This was what Christmas was truly about: family, tradition, and the creation of precious memories. As they pulled into their driveway, Catherine noticed that several cars were already parked outside. Her parents had arrived early for their planned visit, and she could see her mother peeking out of one of the front windows, clearly excited to see her grandchildren. The holiday celebration was about to expand beyond their immediate family, and Catherine felt ready to welcome their loved ones into this warm circle of Christmas magic. The afternoon sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over their home and their newly acquired Christmas tree. Catherine looked at William and their 3 beautiful children, all flushed with cold air and excitement, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Whatever challenges they might face in their public roles, moments like these reminded her of what was truly important in life. As they unloaded the tree and prepared to bring it inside, Catherine silently made a wish for the holiday season ahead. She hoped for continued health and happiness for their family, for peace in their home, and for many more simple moments of joy like this one. The tree would soon be decorated with lights and ornaments, but it had already served its most important purpose, bringing their family together in love and laughter on this perfect December day. The warmth of their home enveloped them as they stepped inside, their cheeks still rosy from the cold December air. Catherine's mother, Carol Middleton, was waiting in the entrance hall with outstretched arms, ready to gather her grandchildren into warm embraces. Her face beamed with the special joy that only grandparents seem to possess during the holiday season. Behind her stood Michael Middleton, Catherine's father, his gentle smile and kind eyes reflecting the same happiness that Catherine remembered from her own childhood Christmases. "Grandmama!" Prince Louis squealed, running straight into Carol's arms with the uninhibited enthusiasm that only a 4-year-old could manage. Princess Charlotte followed more sedately, but her excitement was equally evident as she hugged both her grandparents. Prince George, growing more conscious of his position as the eldest, offered a more formal greeting but couldn't hide his delight at seeing his beloved grandparents. Catherine watched this reunion with a heart full of love. Despite their royal status and the complexities that came with it, her parents had always been a stabilizing force in their lives. They brought a sense of normalcy and unconditional love that was precious beyond measure. Carol and Michael had never been intimidated by protocol or titles, they simply loved their daughter and their grandchildren with the pure, uncomplicated devotion of family. "We brought mince pies," Carol announced with a conspiratorial wink at the children. "And I may have hidden a few extra Christmas gifts in my bag, but those are secrets until tomorrow." The children giggled with anticipation, already trying to guess what surprises their grandmother might have brought. Catherine shook her head in amused exasperation. Her mother had never been able to resist spoiling her grandchildren just a little bit extra. William helped his father-in-law carry in the massive Christmas tree, while the women and children gathered in the living room to plan the decorating strategy. Catherine had always loved this part of the Christmas preparation, the careful unpacking of ornaments that held years of memories, each one telling a story of Christmases past. Some were handmade treasures created by the children in their art classes, others were beautiful pieces they had collected during their travels, and many were gifts from family members and friends. The afternoon passed in a whirlwind of activity and laughter. Prince George appointed himself as the official tree decorator supervisor, carefully directing where each ornament should be placed for optimal visual impact. His serious approach to the task reminded Catherine of William at that age, always wanting to ensure everything was done properly. Princess Charlotte focused on the artistic aspects, making sure the colors were balanced and that no two similar ornaments were placed too close together. Prince Louis's contribution was more chaotic but equally heartfelt. He insisted on hanging his favorite ornaments at his eye level, which meant the bottom third of the tree was heavily decorated while higher branches remained sparse. Catherine and William exchanged amused glances but allowed their youngest to express his creativity in his own way. After all, the tree was meant to reflect their family's personality, not some magazine-perfect ideal. Carol proved to be an invaluable assistant, entertaining the children with stories about Catherine's childhood Christmas traditions while helping to untangle lights and sort ornaments. She shared tales of Catherine's own excitement as a little girl, how she would spend hours arranging and rearranging the family nativity set, creating elaborate stories about the characters and their lives. The children listened with fascination, delighted to imagine their mother as a little girl just like them. As the afternoon light began to fade, Catherine found herself in the kitchen with her mother, preparing hot chocolate and Christmas cookies for the family. This quiet time together was precious to her. Despite her royal duties and public obligations, Catherine treasured these moments when she could simply be a daughter again. Her mother's presence brought comfort and perspective, reminding her of the values and traditions that had shaped her into the woman she had become. "You've created something beautiful here," Carol said softly, looking through the kitchen window at William and the children still working on the tree. "Not just the home, but the family atmosphere. The children are so happy and secure." Catherine felt tears prick her eyes at her mother's words. Sometimes the pressure of their public role made her worry about whether they were doing enough for their children, whether they were providing the normal, loving childhood that every child deserved. Michael joined them in the kitchen, offering to help with the refreshments. Catherine's father had always been a quiet but steady presence in their lives, offering wisdom and support without fanfare or drama. He shared William's love of nature and often took the children on educational walks around the grounds, teaching them about birds and plants and the changing seasons. His gentle manner and patient explanations made him a favorite with all three grandchildren. As evening approached, the family gathered around their newly decorated Christmas tree for the traditional lighting ceremony. William had the honor of plugging in the lights, and the room was suddenly filled with a warm, golden glow that reflected off the carefully placed ornaments and tinsel. The children gasped in delight, their faces illuminated by the magical sparkle of their creation. Catherine looked around the room at her family, her husband's proud smile, her children's wonder-filled expressions, her parents' contented faces, and felt a profound sense of gratitude. These were the moments that made all the challenges worthwhile, the memories that would sustain them through difficult times and remind them of what truly mattered in life. "Shall we read a Christmas story?" Catherine suggested, settling into the large armchair that had become the designated storytelling spot. The children immediately began choosing their favorites, each wanting to share their preferred holiday tale. They settled on The Night Before Christmas, a classic that never failed to capture their imagination and excitement about the approaching holiday. As Catherine read aloud, her voice gentle and soothing, the rest of the family listened with rapt attention. Even George, who was beginning to show signs of growing out of some childhood traditions, was captivated by the familiar words and comforting rhythm of the story. Prince Louis curled up in his father's lap, his eyes growing heavy as the warmth of the room and the soft cadence of his mother's voice began to work their magic. Princess Charlotte sat beside her grandmother, occasionally asking questions about specific parts of the story or adding her own interpretations of what the characters might be thinking or feeling. Her curiosity and creativity never ceased to amaze Catherine. The little girl had inherited her mother's love of literature and storytelling, often creating her own elaborate tales during quiet playtime. The evening concluded with a simple but elegant dinner that Catherine had prepared with her mother's help. They kept the conversation light and joyful, sharing funny stories from the past year and discussing their hopes and plans for the coming months. The children contributed their own observations and questions, creating the kind of multi-generational dialogue that Catherine treasured. As they prepared for bed, the children were clearly reluctant to end such a perfect day. They begged for extra stories, additional time to admire their Christmas tree, and numerous glasses of water that seemed designed more to prolong bedtime than to address any real thirst. Catherine and William patiently guided them through their bedtime routines, understanding that the excitement of the holiday season made it difficult for young minds to settle down. When the house finally grew quiet, Catherine and William sat together in their living room, enjoying a peaceful cup of tea while admiring their handiwork. The Christmas tree stood magnificent in the corner, its lights twinkling like captured stars. The room still held the lingering warmth of family laughter and the sweet scent of pine needles and vanilla candles. "This is what I want them to remember," Catherine said softly, reaching for William's hand. "Not the formal events or the public appearances, but days like this. Family time, tradition, love." William squeezed her hand in understanding. He shared her desire to give their children a childhood filled with genuine warmth and security, despite the unique circumstances of their birth and position. As they made their way upstairs to check on the sleeping children one last time, Catherine felt a deep sense of satisfaction about the day they had shared. Tomorrow would bring new adventures and holiday traditions, but tonight she was content to savor the memory of their perfect family day. The Christmas tree would continue to sparkle through the night, a symbol of the love and joy that filled their home during this magical season. Christmas Eve morning dawned crisp and clear, with frost painting delicate patterns across the windows of Anmer Hall. Catherine woke early, as had become her habit during the holiday season, cherishing these quiet moments before the house came alive with the excitement of her family. She wrapped herself in a soft cashmere robe and made her way downstairs, where the Christmas tree stood like a sentinel of joy in the corner of the living room, its lights creating a gentle glow in the pre-dawn darkness. The tradition of Christmas Eve had always held special significance for Catherine. It was a day of anticipation and preparation, of final touches and last-minute wrapping, but also a day when the spiritual meaning of Christmas felt most present and real. She had planned a full day of activities that would honor both the sacred and joyful aspects of the holiday, creating memories that would last long after the presents were unwrapped and the decorations were stored away. William joined her in the kitchen as she prepared breakfast, their movements synchronized by years of shared mornings and mutual understanding. They worked together in comfortable silence, he preparing fresh coffee while she arranged pastries and fruit on their best holiday china. The children would be awake soon, and with them would come the beautiful chaos that defined their family holidays. "The church service is at 10, Catherine reminded William as they set the table together. "Father Matthews mentioned that they'd prepared something special for the children's choir." William smiled at the thought. Their local parish had become an important part of their Norfolk life, providing not just spiritual guidance but also a sense of community connection that they valued deeply. The children had participated in Sunday school there and had formed genuine friendships with other local families. As predicted, the sound of running feet soon announced the arrival of their 3 children, all dressed in their Christmas Eve finery but already showing signs of barely contained excitement. Prince George wore a navy blazer and tie, looking every inch the young gentleman, while Princess Charlotte had chosen a beautiful red dress with white tights that made her look like a perfect Christmas angel. Prince Louis, despite his parents' best efforts, had managed to get his shirt partially untucked and his hair standing at odd angles, but his beaming smile more than compensated for any sartorial shortcomings. "Is Father Christmas coming tonight?" Louis asked for what Catherine estimated was the 20th time since waking up. His eyes were wide with wonder and just a touch of nervousness about whether he had been sufficiently good throughout the year to merit a visit from the famous gift-bringer. Catherine knelt down and adjusted his collar while reassuring him that Father Christmas was indeed planning to visit children who had tried their best to be kind and helpful. The family's Christmas Eve traditions had evolved over the years, blending elements from both William and Catherine's childhood memories with new customs they had created specifically for their own children. After breakfast, they would attend the morning church service, followed by a special lunch with Catherine's parents, then an afternoon of final gift preparations and family games before the evening's candlelight service and Christmas Eve dinner. The drive to their local church was filled with the children's excited chatter about the Christmas story and their anticipation of hearing the children's choir perform. Catherine had always been moved by the way her children embraced the spiritual aspects of Christmas, asking thoughtful questions about the nativity story and showing genuine compassion for the idea of a family seeking shelter and welcome. Their innocence and faith reminded her of the pure wonder that Christmas was meant to inspire. The church was beautifully decorated with holly and ivy, white lilies and red poinsettias, creating an atmosphere of reverent celebration. Families from throughout their community filled the wooden pews, and Catherine felt grateful for this connection to something larger than themselves. Despite their royal status, here they were simply another family gathering to celebrate the most sacred day of the Christian calendar. The children's choir was indeed spectacular, their young voices lifting in harmony as they sang traditional carols and contemporary Christmas songs. Princess Charlotte listened with rapt attention, occasionally humming along when she recognized a familiar melody. Prince George maintained his composure throughout the service, though Catherine could see him fighting the urge to fidget as the anticipation of Christmas grew stronger. Prince Louis did his best to sit still, though he couldn't resist whispering occasional questions about the stained glass windows and the meaning of various ceremonial elements. Father Matthews delivered a sermon about the true meaning of Christmas that resonated deeply with Catherine. He spoke about the importance of family, community, and showing love and kindness to those around us, especially during times of celebration. His words reminded her of why these traditions mattered so much, not because of their grandeur or expense, but because of the love and connection they represented. After the service, several families approached them with warm Christmas wishes, and Catherine was touched by the genuine affection and respect these neighbors showed for their family. These relationships meant a great deal to her. They provided her children with a sense of normalcy and belonging that no amount of royal privilege could replace. The children received hugs and Christmas greetings from their Sunday school friends, their faces glowing with happiness at being part of this caring community. Lunch back at Anmer Hall was a festive affair, with Carol and Michael Middleton regaling the family with stories from their own Christmas Eve traditions. Catherine's parents had brought additional gifts and treats, including homemade Christmas crackers filled with small toys and silly jokes that delighted the children. The meal itself was a careful balance of elegant holiday fare and child-friendly favorites, ensuring that everyone could enjoy the celebration. The afternoon was dedicated to final preparations for Christmas morning. Catherine and the children carefully arranged the presents under the tree, with each child taking turns to add their own wrapped gifts for family members. The children had spent weeks creating handmade presents for their parents and grandparents, working on secret projects during art time and whispering about their surprise creations. Catherine treasured these homemade gifts more than any expensive present she had ever received. Prince George had crafted a wooden ornament in his woodworking class, carving his father's initials with painstaking care and painting it in colors he thought William would appreciate. Princess Charlotte had written and illustrated a book of family stories, complete with hand-drawn pictures of their most memorable adventures together. Prince Louis had created a series of paintings that, while abstract in style, clearly represented each member of their family and were accompanied by his own artistic explanations of what made each person special. As afternoon faded into evening, the family prepared for their most cherished Christmas Eve tradition, the candlelight service at church. This evening service had a different atmosphere from the morning worship, more contemplative and peaceful, with the ancient carols taking on deeper meaning in the soft glow of candlelight. The children had learned to appreciate this quieter, more reflective celebration, understanding that Christmas was about more than presents and festivities. The church was filled with families holding small candles, their faces illuminated by the gentle flickering light. The service included readings from the Gospel of Luke, telling the story of Jesus' birth, and the congregation joined together in singing Silent Night as the service concluded. Catherine felt moved to tears by the beauty and simplicity of the moment, her heart full of gratitude for her family's health, happiness, and the love they shared. Christmas Eve dinner was an elegant but intimate affair, featuring traditional holiday foods prepared with care and attention to family preferences. Catherine had worked with their chef to create a menu that honored both British holiday traditions and some of the international influences they had experienced during their travels and royal duties. The children were allowed to stay up later than usual, understanding that this night was special and deserving of extended celebration. As the evening drew to a close, the family gathered once more around their Christmas tree for the final tradition of Christmas Eve, hanging up stockings and leaving out treats for Father Christmas and his reindeer. The children took this responsibility very seriously, carefully arranging cookies and milk on the special plate that had been designated for this important task. They also left a carrot for Rudolph, though Louis insisted that all the reindeer deserved treats and managed to convince his parents to provide additional vegetables for the entire team. The bedtime routine on Christmas Eve required extra patience and gentle encouragement, as the children's excitement made it nearly impossible for them to settle down for sleep. Catherine and William took turns reading extra stories, singing soft lullabies, and providing reassurance that morning would come and, with it, all the magic they had been anticipating. Each child received extra hugs and kisses, along with reminders of how much they were loved, not because of their behavior or accomplishments, but simply because they were precious members of their family. As Catherine and William finally made their way to their own bedroom, they took a moment to stand together in the doorway of the living room, admiring the tree and the carefully arranged presents beneath it. Tomorrow would bring new excitement and celebration, but tonight was about the quiet satisfaction of traditions honored and love shared. Catherine felt profoundly grateful for the day they had experienced and the family they had built together, knowing that these memories would sustain them through whatever challenges the future might bring. Christmas morning arrived with the soft whisper of snow against the windows and the unmistakable sound of small feet creeping across hardwood floors. Catherine stirred in the pre-dawn darkness, her mother's intuition alerting her to the fact that at least one of their children was awake and attempting to investigate whether Father Christmas had indeed made his anticipated visit. She smiled in the darkness, remembering her own childhood excitement and the almost unbearable anticipation that had made Christmas morning sleep impossible. William woke beside her, immediately alert to the sounds of their household stirring to life. They had agreed the night before that the children could peek at their stockings once everyone was awake, but the proper present opening would wait until after breakfast and the arrival of additional family members who were joining them for Christmas Day. This structure helped manage the excitement while ensuring that the celebration could be shared with all their loved ones. Prince Louis was the first to appear in their bedroom doorway, his hair even more disheveled than usual and his eyes bright with excitement and wonder. "Mama, Papa," he whispered urgently, as if speaking too loudly might somehow reverse the magic of Christmas morning. "I think Father Christmas came. There are new things under the tree, and my stocking feels heavy." His barely contained enthusiasm was infectious, and Catherine felt her own excitement building as she contemplated the joy this day would bring to her family. Princess Charlotte and Prince George appeared moments later, both trying to maintain some semblance of dignity despite their obvious eagerness to begin the Christmas morning festivities. Charlotte had attempted to brush her hair and was wearing her special Christmas morning dressing gown, while George maintained his role as the responsible eldest child, though his bright eyes betrayed his excitement. Together, the three children presented a picture of Christmas morning perfection, rumpled, excited, and absolutely radiant with happiness. The family made their way downstairs together, with William carrying Louis, who was practically vibrating with anticipation. The living room had been transformed overnight, not by magic, but by Catherine and William's careful placement of gifts and treats that would make the morning special for their children. The Christmas tree lights twinkled in the early morning dimness, and the stockings that had hung empty the night before were now plump with small gifts and treats. Catherine watched as her children approached their stockings with a mixture of reverence and barely controlled excitement. Each child had their own special stocking, beautifully embroidered with their names and hung in order of age along the fireplace mantel. The tradition of Christmas stockings had been important to Catherine since her own childhood, and she had carefully selected small gifts that would delight each child while maintaining the magic and mystery of Father Christmas's visit. Prince George opened his stocking with careful precision, examining each item and expressing genuine appreciation for every gift, no matter how small. His stocking contained a new compass for his nature explorations, some special pencils for drawing, a small book about aircraft that reflected his growing interest in flying, and various treats and small toys that brought smiles to his face. His thoughtful approach to each discovery reminded Catherine of William's measured personality and attention to detail. Princess Charlotte approached her stocking with artistic sensibility, arranging the contents as she removed them and commenting on the colors and textures of each gift. Her stocking held art supplies, a small journal with a beautiful cover, hair accessories that sparkled like jewelry, and some of her favorite sweets. She examined each item carefully, already imagining the creative projects she would undertake with her new supplies. Prince Louis's approach was characteristically enthusiastic and somewhat chaotic. He dumped his stocking's contents onto the floor and immediately began playing with everything simultaneously, his attention jumping from one treasure to another with delightful unpredictability. His gifts included small toys, puzzles appropriate for his age, some special treats, and a new stuffed animal that immediately became his focus of attention and affection. After the stocking exploration concluded, Catherine guided her family to the kitchen for their traditional Christmas morning breakfast. She had prepared special holiday treats the night before: cinnamon rolls, fresh fruit arranged in festive patterns, and hot chocolate with marshmallows for the children. The breakfast was designed to be both celebratory and substantial enough to sustain them through the morning's activities. As they ate breakfast together, the children chattered about their stocking discoveries and speculated about the larger gifts that waited under the tree. Catherine found herself savoring these moments of anticipation almost as much as the gift opening itself. The excitement and wonder on her children's faces reminded her of the true magic of Christmas, not in the material gifts themselves, but in the joy of giving and receiving love through thoughtful gestures and shared celebration. Prince Charles and Camilla arrived mid-morning, bringing additional gifts and their own excitement about spending Christmas Day with their grandchildren. Charles had always shown a special tenderness toward his grandchildren, and Catherine loved watching him interact with them during these family celebrations. His face would light up with genuine pleasure as he listened to their stories and observed their excitement about their gifts and discoveries. Camilla brought her characteristic warmth and practical kindness to the morning, helping Catherine coordinate the logistics of gift opening while ensuring that everyone felt included and appreciated. She had a wonderful way with the children, treating them as individuals rather than simply royal offspring, and Catherine was grateful for the positive relationship her children had developed with their step-grandmother. The formal gift opening ceremony began with the family gathered around the Christmas tree, with each person taking turns to distribute and open presents. Catherine and William had worked hard to ensure that the focus remained on thoughtfulness rather than expense, choosing gifts that reflected each family member's interests and personality rather than simply buying the most elaborate options available. Prince George received books about history and adventure, building sets that would challenge his engineering interests, and outdoor equipment for his nature explorations. His face lit up with genuine appreciation for each thoughtful gift, and he carefully examined everything before moving on to the next present. His favorite gift appeared to be a set of maps and travel guides that would help him learn about different countries and cultures around the world. Princess Charlotte's gifts focused on her artistic talents and love of beauty. She received professional quality art supplies, books about famous artists and their techniques, dress-up clothes that sparked her imagination, and materials for various craft projects. Her most treasured gift was a beautiful jewelry box with a dancing ballerina inside, which played a gentle melody that reminded Catherine of her own childhood music box. Prince Louis's presents were chosen to support his energetic personality and developing interests. He received ride-on toys, building blocks, puzzles that would challenge his growing problem-solving abilities, and books with interactive elements that would hold his attention. His favorite gift was clearly a child-sized kitchen set where he could pretend to cook and serve meals to his family members. Catherine was moved by the thoughtful gifts her family had chosen for her. William had selected a beautiful piece of jewelry that reflected her personal style, along with books by authors she admired and a spa package that would provide some well-deserved relaxation time. The children had created handmade gifts that she would treasure forever: drawings, crafts, and written expressions of love that meant more to her than any purchased item could. William received gifts that reflected his interests in conservation, sports, and family life. Catherine had chosen items that would support his various hobbies and charitable work, while the children had created projects that showed their understanding of what made their father happy. Their handmade gifts included drawings of helicopters, since William's military service remained an important part of his identity, and family portraits that captured their love for their father. The grandparents received an abundance of handmade treasures from their grandchildren, along with thoughtful gifts from William and Catherine that acknowledged their important role in the family. The children had spent weeks creating special projects for each grandparent, and watching them present these gifts with pride and excitement was one of the most touching moments of the morning. As the gift opening concluded and wrapping paper was gathered for disposal, Catherine felt a deep sense of satisfaction about the morning they had shared. The focus had remained on love, thoughtfulness, and family connection rather than material excess. The children had shown genuine appreciation for each gift they received and equal pleasure in watching others open the presents they had given. The remainder of Christmas Day was spent in relaxed family activities. They played board games, took walks in the crisp winter air, prepared a special Christmas dinner together, and simply enjoyed being in each other's company without the pressures and obligations of their public lives. Catherine found herself treasuring these ordinary moments as much as the morning's excitement, conversations over dinner, laughter during games, and the comfortable silence of a family content in each other's presence. As evening approached and the day's celebrations began to wind down, Catherine reflected on the success of their Christmas celebration. They had created exactly what she had hoped for: a day focused on family love, meaningful traditions, and the creation of happy memories. The children had experienced the joy of giving as much as receiving, and the entire family had been reminded of the blessings they shared together. As they prepared for bed that evening, each child carefully arranged their new treasures and expressed gratitude for the wonderful day they had experienced. Catherine and William tucked them in with extra hugs and kisses, listening to their excited recountings of favorite moments and their hopes for continuing the celebrations throughout the holiday season. Later that evening, as Catherine and William sat together in their living room, surrounded by the gentle aftermath of a perfect Christmas day, they reflected on the importance of these family traditions and celebrations. They had successfully created a holiday that honored both the spiritual meaning of Christmas and the simple joy of family love, providing their children with memories that would last a lifetime and traditions they would hopefully continue with their own families someday. Catherine felt profoundly grateful for the blessing of this day and this family, knowing that these moments of pure happiness and connection were the true gifts of Christmas, more precious than any material present and more lasting than any temporary celebration. The love they shared as a family was the foundation that would sustain them through all of life's challenges and changes, and Christmas Day had reminded them all of this fundamental truth.